Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Na Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotter to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotter to the Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. We ask you not to put that sheet on the floor. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you can take it back. Give it. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this third day of September 2025 in San Diego. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme, text 14 at the top of page 358. Ananya Cheta Satatam Yomam Smarati Nityashaha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nitya Yuktasya Yoginaha Ananyacheta Satatam Yomang Smarati Nityashaha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nityayuktasya Yoginaha Ananyacheta Satatam Yomang Smarati Nityashaha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nityayuktasya Yoginaha Ananyacheta Satatam Yomang Smarati Nityashaha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nityayuktasya Yoginaha. Go ahead, Matthias. Ananyacheta Satatam Yomang Smarati Nityashaha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nityayuktasya Yoginaha, page 358. Go ahead. Ananyacheta Satatam Yomam Smarati Nityashaha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nityayuktasya Yoginaha. Okay. Chad, you there?
Ananyacheta Satatam
Ananyacheta Satatam
Yomam Smarati Nityashaha
Yomang Smarati Nityashaha
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Tasyaham Sulabha Partha
Nitya Yuktasya Yoganaha.
Nityayuktasya Yoginaha. Vanessa, you there? Guess not. Okay, Ananyacheta, without deviation of the mind. Satatam, always, yaha, anyone who. Mam, me, Krishna. Smarati, remembers. Nityashaha, regularly. Tasya, to him. Aham, I am. Sulabha, very easy to achieve. Partha, O son of Pita. Nitya, regularly. Yuktasya, engaged. Yoganaha, for the devotee. Translation. Translation. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Purport. This verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned 4 different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been described: karma yoga, jnana yoga, and hatha yoga. I think hatha yoga is Prabhupada's word for Ashtanga yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga, without any mixture of jnana, karma, or hatha. As indicated by the word ananyacheta, in pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to the heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahmajyoti, or salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Nishkama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. Whereas a jnana yogi, karma yogi, or hatha yogi has his own selfish interests. A perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to him, he is easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various plenary expansions and incarnations, such as Rama and Nrsimha, and a devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, He is especially inclined toward those who always serve Him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways. As stated in the Vedas, the Katha Upanishad 1.2.23, Yame Vaisha Vinute Tena Labhyas Tasyaisha Atma Vivanute Tanum Svam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as He is. And as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, the Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain Him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan or some holy town where the Lord, other holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, "Wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan." As indicated by the words satatam and nityashaha, which mean always, regularly, or every day, a pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon Him. These are the qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti Yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. 1. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service in neutrality. 2. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as servant. 3. Sakya Bhakta, engaged as friend. 4. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as parent. And 5. Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of the Krishna conscious process of chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, the theme of this chapter, keeps returning to it, is the benefits, the overwhelming benefits of constantly remembering Krishna, God. There are 3 verses I refer to as kind of the essence of this chapter. Beginning, I think it's 3, 4, and 5. No, it's 5, 6, and 7. I'll just read the English. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So this is the how to assure that, because what is the benefit? What's the benefit of going back home, back to Godhead? Well, the first benefit: no more death. No more birth, no more old age, no more disease. The foundational axiomatic principle of the Vedic culture, actually, and what to speak of the Bhagavad Gita, is that we're not the body. We're not this body. We're a spirit soul. We're pure spirit in the body. And that spirit never dies and was never born. is eternal, just like God is. But because we're very infinitesimal, sometimes the figure is given as the 1/10,000th part of the tip of a hair. When I first heard that, I was a new bhakta. I said, well, what kind of hair? I mean, the hairs is these black hairs, which are thicker, and the thin hairs are, and that the tip must be pretty. Anyway, we're infinitesimal, super, super small. But we are the source of the consciousness in the body. The influence of the soul circulates throughout the body. We're familiar with that, right? Wherever there's blood flow, you can feel something. That's why you can cut your hair, there's no problem, it doesn't hurt. There's no blood up there. And then also the fingernails. But if you just nip a little bit of the, ow, right? Because the blood is circulating. So the consciousness is being carried through the bloodstream. And it's an incredible machine. Actually, so you want proof of God's existence? Just think of your own body. How complex it is. It's absolutely absurd to think that something like the human body, or any organism, really, but it's concentrated in the human body with its incredible brain, came about by chance. There's no intelligence behind it. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's like if you see a car on the street, oh boy, it just grew there. I didn't see that yesterday. It wasn't there. It just manifested. It's ridiculous. Somebody drove it there. Somebody built the car. Somebody designed it. There always, wherever there is organization, wherever there is pattern, and as my old friend Sadhapura say, information. There's a whole part of mathematics called information theory, and the more information you see means the organization and pattern and everything. The more you say, well, there's an intelligence behind it, and since there's an intelligence, it must be a living being. It must be a brain. Anyway, so that's certainly the case, and that supreme living being is inconceivably wonderful. I think it was the previous chapter, we had that verse that when I first read it, I said, that makes sense, that's God, the omniscient part of God. I know everything that's happened in the past. Just think about that. That's trillions of years, trillions of planets, organisms doing this, that, and Krishna knows all of it. And only God could do that. So, Vedaham samatitati vartamana nicharjana bhavishana bhutani mam tu vedana kashana, as he says in the previous chapter. I know everything that's happened in the past, everything that's happening now, and everything that will happen in the future. But me, no one knows. Certainly not completely. That's the whole idea. So, this is, part of the Bhagavad Gita is to give us information about Krishna. That's why so many times he speaks about himself, especially in the central verses. Hare Krishna, welcome. We have the Bhagavad Gita class going on. Maybe you can sit over here on this bench. It's very comfortable here. Then at 8:15 we'll have nice darshan and kirtan. Then, the curtains are closed until 8:15.
8:15?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want, you can come back, or you can sit and wait.
Okay, let me ask my father.
Okay, all right. So, where was I? So, the process of Krishna now is not only, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. I mean, studying philosophy, I remember I studied philosophy in college, and some of the philosophers were kind of theological. There was also that branch, because there was, and so I remember reading, this is the three qualities of God, three main qualities. He's omniscient, he's omnipresent, and he's omnipotent. Omnipotent, yes, omnipotent. And I heard another one, omnibeneficent or something. Did you ever hear that one? Infinitely kind and helpful, loving. Huh? There's a word of beneficent, which is like benevolent, yeah. So what does that mean, the omni part? We can close that. Omni means infinitely, which we can't even comprehend. And I remember when you read the last verse of the 5th chapter, right? Those who know it, Bhoktaram Yagitapasang Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Sudidam Sarvabhutanam Gatva Mam Shantam Richati. So Prabhupada called this the peace formula. The last line says, one who accepts these first three principles, and then only that person can be peaceful. So what is the first one? Bhoktaram yagyatapasam. I am the ultimate enjoyer of all sacrifices and all austerities. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam. Now, even if one is a total atheist, he has to practice sacrifices and austerities. Right? You have to sacrifice your time, go to work hard. That's its tapasya often, you know. So the sacrifices are going on. But the mentality is 100%, I'm going to enjoy the fruits of this. You know, I'll get paid, like that. So that's a normal course. But Krishna says, I am the ultimate enjoyer of all the sacrifices. I should be. If you try to enjoy it, then you remain conditioned, you remain bound in this world. You can't know me, you see. So that's okay. Suppose I believe that. That's a big step. Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer of sacrifice. Bhoktam yagdam sarva loka mahesharam. I am the master of all planets, of all existences. That's a big surrender to try to get it. So this is an extremely great person, powerful, all-knowing. But then the third line is what really clinches it. Sudidam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantamicchati. So it'll be okay? All right. Yeah, if you want, you can sit on the bench. It's a little softer. You all right? Yeah. Okay, good. Now, what about the books? We can get her a book? Yeah. We're on page 350. No, I was just we've been... What verse are we on here? What page?
The one right now is
358? 359. Okay, that's what we're going to read next. Okay, so I'm just reviewing these three verses. They kind of set up, they're like a framework for the whole chapter. So just to review quickly, whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there's no doubt. Now, we're not assured when that will be, and we need to try to establish the principle of remembering Krishna as much as possible, and ultimately at every moment, which is difficult, in order to train our mind to think of him, because we don't know when the end will come. And in the process of doing that, we learn more and more about Krishna and chanting his holy name, and the heart begins to be attracted to Krishna. This is the wonderful thing. God is not just all-powerful and all omniscient and the master of all, and He is all loving. He claims us as we're all children, right? Sarva yonishu konteya murtiyak sambhavandaya tasam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradakpita. I am the seed-giving father of all. We're all children of God. So we're all brothers and sisters. So so just like any loving father, he wants to see us happy and prosperous, and we've forgotten our real nature, and so we're struggling in this material world and suffering like anything. And the pillars of the suffering, we can really understand. Hare Krishna, welcome. So we're going to have the darshan in 8:15. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Bo. He's a serious chanter. I can see he's got his beads there. Have a seat. The benches are very comfortable. You can sit on the bench. Anyway, Hare Bol. So, this is the point, that Krishna is a person. He's not just a force. It's not just somebody he knows everything, controls everything, but how can I have some relationship with him? I'm just this tiny, ignorant person, fragile, But that's the point, is that despite the fact that he's infinitely great and he has billions and billions of servants already, he still is concerned for each one of us. This is God. And therefore, as we learn in chapter 4, he comes, Hare Krishna. Yada yada hi dharmasya glane bhavati bharata abhyutanam dharmasya tadatmanam sajamyaham. I have a question, if I could. Did you learn that verse as a child? Yada yada hi dharmasya?
We are from Delhi.
From Delhi? Okay, But don't you, isn't that a verse that yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata? It's a well-known verse, right? Anyway, I learned it much later. But Krishna is explaining why he comes. When there is a discrepancy, whenever there's a discrepancy in dharma, dharma is a glani, right? Which there is today for sure. And even 5,000 years ago, there was this discrepancy. And an upsurge of adharma, which causes so much suffering in the world. This is the point, that it just creates. Like we have the context here is the Battle of Kurukshetra. So there was an upsurge of adharma. Duryodhana and his brothers, were trying to take over, and Yudhishthira was dharma personified, the son of Dharmaraj, right, son of Yamaraj. And the other Pandavas were also pillars of ethics and devotion and everything. The good, they were the good guys. So Duryodhana, they were just thinking of what we can do with the kingdom, which would be the whole earth, So that was the thing. So Krishna, he was present, and he, of course, protected the Pandavas, and he did so many things to also arrange for the battle to take place, And the whole idea is that there's going to be a lot of clearing of the unwanted, the miscreants in the world. He tells that to Arjuna, in whether you fight or not, nobody's going home, So anyway, that comes later in the Bhagavad Gita. But even though it sounds horrific, millions of I know a lot of the elephants and the horses, they're also going to die. Yudhishthira was broken when he saw that also afterward. But it's all ultimately for good, because those who are killed in Krishna's presence, especially by him, they get liberation, and the earth then becomes a place where dharma rules, and people can actually live peacefully and progress in devotional service. So that's the idea. But so how does it relate to us? Okay, whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remember me alone. So as Prabhupada mentions in the purport here, and it becomes clear in the next few verses, that what you think about, where you place your mind, your energy, as you live your life, that will fill your mind with a certain kind of thoughts when you finally leave it. We have some agency about what we choose to think of, and where we choose to place our energies. Just like someone would come here and they freely give a donation in the box, because they know this. This is Krishna's house, and the money will be used to buy boga and whatever. So that's an act of devotion. That's seen by Krishna. You see, what to speak of hearing his book, or trying to give his book to others, and a wonderful process given by Lord Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Harinam Sankirtan, go out on the street, even in this 21st century, and chanting the holy name. People look at, what is all this going on, and then you get a little leaflet, you get an attachment, and let me check that out. Here it says free food and everything. So the point is, serving the Lord by spreading his glories, which is really the best thing, is very pleasing to him. And from within the heart, he cleanses away all of these auspicious things, the auspicious desires, gives you the spiritual strength to follow the restrictive principles, moral principles. And generally, he makes all kinds of arrangements to help you to come to him. That's what this temple is, sending Srila Prabhupada, to America. I mean, it's incredible that, empowering him, inspiring him, and of course the parampara, all of that, so that we could have a chance. We here in the West who don't speak Hindi, we don't speak Sanskrit, we don't speak Bengali, and yet Srila Prabhupada translated in such a way that we can understand, and now the books are, translated in 80, 90 languages. So Krishna is all attractive. And when we open ourselves to hear about him and to chant about him, and especially to serve him, then from within we begin to feel a certain kind of joy that we never felt before. And a lot of the suffering, the anxiety, first thing is the mental thing, it just kind of evaporates. Because Krishna's from within, he's enlightening us and enlightening and enlivening us. So then Krishna gives the general principle, yang yang vapi swarang bhavam. Whatever you think of, Whatever's the most prominent thought in your mind when your body finally gives out, which all of us will, that will determine your next body, right? That's the principle. And it's nicely described beginning in the 15th chapter. We have two bodies. We have this body that we commonly call the body we see in the mirror, the gross body. But we have the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego. And when the gross body dies, the subtle body doesn't. The subtle body carries the soul to the next body. So that's the template. We're making it every day, at every moment, really, what we choose to think about. But because we're human beings, we have higher intelligence, we can understand this, and we can control the lower self by the higher self, and direct the mind. No, don't go there. Think of this now. I have to go to the temple. I know I want to, keep sleeping, but I have to get up and come to Mangalarti. So there's always that pull, and gradually the pull of the Maya pull becomes weaker, because if you don't feed it, then it becomes automatic. I mean, I'm not bragging about this, but I have been so fortunate to live in or near a temple for 50 years, more than 50 years, and it's just like there's no question, it's not even 3 o'clock now. It's 2:30. I need more time. I'm older. I get up. It's just even if I don't have an alarm, I would get up. Although I set 2 alarms in case one of them doesn't work, just to make sure I don't want to be late. So it's so wonderful, to come here. I mean, it's just relatively few of us, but we're singing that wonderful song, Sangsara Dhava Nanalina Loka. I highly recommend that we have these songbooks here, and actually our good friend Bhakta Eddie bought a whole bag of them, so I can give you one if you want, and you can learn the word-for-word meanings. And then when we sing Jaya Radha Madhava, you don't need, you may have the sheet, but if you have the sheet, it's still, what does it mean, right? So you can learn what it means. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, all glories to Radha and Madhava, who playing in the gardens of Vrindavan. Gopi Jana Vallabha. Vallabha, certain combinations of letters in Sanskrit, they're said to evoke certain emotions. I don't know if you know that. The double L, Vallabha, is like the love between Krishna and the gopis. The ND sound, as in Ananda, that just is spiritual joy in general. There's no Nanda Nandana. The delighter of Nanda is his father, and Nanda Nandana. This is a verse in Sanskrit. I won't get into this, but it's just full of NDs, And also, I brought about yesterday. I was reading the word quit trainer. It means severe austerities. It's in a verse Prabhupada would always quote. Yen ye arvindakshiva mukta maninas tvayasta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya aruha kutraina param padang tatak patantya anadvita yushmarangriya. So what they're describing, this is the demigods in secret. They're praying to Krishna in the womb of Devaki in the dungeon of Kamsa, just before he takes birth. So they come there because they know he's coming, and they offer all these prayers. And so they've been glorifying the devotees. So now they say that, but there are others beside the devotees, the impersonalists, lotus-eyed Lord, other Bindaksha, who vimukta mindedness, they think they're liberated. Vimukta, it's in their mind, but they think. Vimukta mindedness, yen yeda bindaksha vimukta mindedness, tvai ashta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya, but their intelligence is really not pure. Abhishuddha buddhaya. These are the impersonalists, think that the absolute truth is just a white light, the Brahman. So with great austerities, that's where the quit trainer comes in. You can hear it. Does anyone know what an onomatopoeia is? I asked this yesterday. Onomatopoeia is a word that means what it sounds like. We have so many in English. Just like ring, the ring, 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 ring of the bell, right? Or splash. Right, something it literally splash, the big. So they're like that, and Sanskrit has those also. So one of them is quit traina, which means severe austerities. So just a few, not all of them, but those who are able to control the lower senses and all these things simply by the force of will. We have to use our will and our determination, but as soon as you chant Hare Krishna and you really hear, then the attraction of the material world kind of disappears. You know, if you're really hearing, then the holy name is giving you so much spiritual pleasure that you're not attracted anymore. So this is, they don't have that. They're impersonalists. They don't meditate on Krishna. They try to merge into the white light, Brahman. So a few, not all, but a few can control the urges of the senses with their tremendous willpower, you know, and rise up to Brahman, you see. But then, what do they experience there? There's no Krishna. There's no bhakti. They don't have a body. They don't have any senses. All they have is their consciousness. I'm free from birth, old age, disease, and death. You see? But that's not fulfilling for the soul.
The bugs, they go like to electric lamp.
The bugs?
Yeah, like the mosquitoes that they go like to electric lamp.
Yeah, and they die. Yeah. That's another analogy. But anyway, they get bored there. The point is that they want to do something, so they come down again and they'll open hospitals or something like that, you know. But if this world is mithya, you know, that's this Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, right? Mithya, yeah, it's false. Why do they come down to the false? Because it's unfulfilling, it's unnatural for the soul. We are persons. We're not just conscious little pieces of consciousness, we're conscious persons. And now our personality, a spiritual personality, is covered by our material mind and ideas in the material body. But that covering can be used, actually the body can be used to reawaken the soul and reconnect us to Krishna. And that's the whole point here. So whatever, remember, that's text 6, that will determine our next state without fail. Therefore, here comes the therefore. Therefore, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me, your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. So this is Bhakti Yoga, you know. We can't just, and we shouldn't, you know, just try to just sit and maybe chant, 100,000 names, you know, today. You know, we're not ready for that, you know. And that's not the ideal anyway. I mean, Haridas Thakur was doing it, he was the Acharya. But yeah, we can chant our rounds very nicely and then do service helping to push on the Krishna conscious movement. That's most pleasing to Krishna. And if we're thinking of all of the services and thinking of Krishna when we leave the body, it's a success. So we need to work on that. All right, back to the verse where we were. Where were we again? 14? 15. Okay, 15. I'm sorry, we're a little disjointed tonight. Okay, Mamupeta Punarjanma. This is a very famous verse. Mamupeta Punarjanma Dukkalaya Shashvatam Naptavanti Mahatmana Sangsiddhim Padamangata. After attaining me, the great souls, who are yogis in devotion, never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Purport. Since the temporary material world is full of the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, naturally, he who achieves the highest perfection and attains the supreme planet, Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan, does not wish to return. The supreme planet is described in Vedic literature as Avyakta and Akshara and Paramagati. In other words, that planet is beyond our material vision, and it is inexplicable, but it is the highest goal, the destination for the Mahatmas, the great souls. The Mahatmas receive transcendental messages from the realized devotees, and thus gradually develop devotional service in Krishna consciousness, and become so absorbed in transcendental service that they no longer desire elevation to any of the material planets, nor do they even want to be transferred to any spiritual planet. They want only Krishna and Krishna's association and nothing else. That is the highest perfection of life. This verse specifically mentions the personalist devotees of the Supreme Lord Krishna. These devotees in Krishna consciousness achieve the highest perfection of life. In other words, they are the supreme souls. So Lord Chaitanya he teaches us how to pray in his Shikshastika. He says, Nadanang, first he says what he doesn't want. Nadanang, nadanang, nasundaring kapitam va jagadishikamaye. Mama janma nijanma nishvade bhavatan bhakti dahoituki tvahi. I put this in a little poem. Wealth, These are the common things people pray for if they want to, go to the heavenly planets, or they're praying to Indra, or whatever. Wealth and women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. So future birth means he's not even praying for liberation. Very well, Jordan. Welcome. We usually see you in the kitchen doing the service. He's an empowered pot washer. So that's pretty amazing. I don't want wealth, and this is what you want. If you go to the Durga, you're not going to pray for liberation. You pray for, got to pay the rent. I don't know what you pay. But the devotee, he's not praying for that. He's teaching us how to pray. And then the next verse, even more. Ainanda tanuja kinkadam patitam mam vishame bhavam budho kripayata vapada pankaja stita dhuli sadrisham vachintaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. So this is what the devotee is really hankering for, because he's experienced it. This position of service, whatever else is going on, I just want to be situated in service to Krishna. That means being absorbed in thought of him and always taking great joy in glorifying and hearing glorification of him amongst devotees. This is the enjoyment for the devotees. So that's what the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us. And one who's certainly hearing and chanting and always thinking and serving will have a very good chance of remembering Krishna when the body finally gives out. And usually you get some notice, so you can get help from your God brothers and God sisters also. I'll say, now this verse also, this attains a very often quoted phrase, because this describes the material world in very succinctly. Dukkha alayam ashashvatam. Dukkha means misery, and alaya means an abode. And ashashvata means it's temporary. On top of everything, it's temporary. Your situation is temporary. So, why would the devotee who has attained me, upecha, punarjanma, want to take birth again here? Naplaban doesn't. The Mahatmas don't do that, because they've attained the supreme perfection in the spiritual world. So this is interesting, because according to the way Srila Prabhupada taught us, and the way it's understand from the books, we fell from the spiritual world. Lord Chaitanya says, patitam mam. Of course he's not describing himself, but he's telling us how to pray. So we fall. Patita means to fall. So the point is, once we go back, we're not going to be dwelling on what we did down here for millions of births, But there'll still be an understanding, I'm not going to make that mistake again, And so you never, punarjanma doesn't come back again. That's the whole point. Sangsid, Naptavan Sangsidhim Paramangata, Yangadvana Davartante, Tadama Paramangata. Another verse says, once going, you never come back again. So that's very encouraging. We'll never be tempted to make this mistake again. We'll have some little memory. No, I'm not going to do, let me just take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet in the service. So that's, and the Dukkalayam Ashashvatam. I mean, if you want a succinct description of this material world, that's what it is. Full of all kinds of miseries. Yes, there are a certain amount of joys, but they're also temporary. And there's the big miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. And then, if that's not enough, you got the threefold miseries, Adidaivaka, which are so prominent lately, huge storms that we never had before. That each year is warmer and warmer, Yes, climate change is a real thing. And what happens with the warmer and warmer? Well, one thing is it evaporates more water, and the storms are worse. The flooding everywhere. There's flooding everywhere, and also heating. The droughts are also worse everywhere. So this is what's going on, because the uncontrolled senses. We got to burn. So that's dukkhalayam, and it's temporary to boot. All right, one more. This is also a very famous verse, text 16. Brahma bhuvana loka punar avartinorjana mamupechita kunteya Punarjanma navidyate. So he repeats that upecha word means, here it says arriving, and the other one it was achieving. Okay, arriving in the spiritual world or achieving Krishna. From the highest planet in the material world, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kuntī, never takes birth again. Purport. All kinds of yogis, karma yogis, jnana yogis, hatha yogis, etc. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having this problem again. I forgot to plug this thing in with this little device. Okay. Eventually have to attain devotional perfection in bhakti yoga, or Krishna consciousness, before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planets, the planets of the demigods, are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets, such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, and Indraloka, fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice, called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in the Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if on Brahmaloka one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. Baladev Vidyabhushan, in his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, quotes this verse, Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte patisanchare parasyante kritatmana pravashanti padam padam. When there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and the devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. So not everybody on Brahmaloka goes back to Godhead. That's the thing. They have to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And I remember when the ninth canto came out, this was probably in 77. And there was this one purport where Prabhupada says, when we fall from the spiritual world, then how does that work? He said, well, the first thing is that everyone who falls from the spiritual world, the first birth they take is Brahma. And, that means that Brahma doesn't always go back to Godhead. Our Brahma is the head of our, he's the author of the Brahma Samhita, so he's going back, But not all the Brahmas are as fortunate. And so, that just blew everyone's mind. Because we understand that every living entity here is fallen from the spiritual world, Even the insects and the plants and everything, they're all living entities. So that's countless trillions and quadrillions of living entities. And each one of them was once a Brahma who had a universe going for billions and billions of years. It kind of blows the mind, how the time frame to accommodate all that. But that's what Prabhupada wrote. But the point is, it doesn't help us to really try to figure out how we got here. We want to try to go there, get back there. This was the whole issue, a philosophical issue that luckily is not, is that did we really fall from the spiritual world? Because a lot of Prabhupada's God brothers and everything, they have a different idea that we've always been here. We're the unlucky ones who are here, but we can go there, and when we go there, we won't come back. But that's not the way Prabhupada explains it. And if you read carefully, Bhayam Dvitiya Abhinaveshadakshyadya from the Bhagavatam, it describes where does fear come from when you started contemplating the material energy, duality, and you turn away from God. You turn away from your faith, vimukha-cetasi, Well, that means we were there, Anyway, that's our thing. But go back home, back to God. What could it possibly mean? But we were all once there at home. That's our real home. So this is very, very sobering. Even up to Brahmaloka, you're not necessarily going back to God. All are places of return. Although Brahma and those who are if apparently even Brahma is not always pure devotee and comes down. Otherwise, why would Prabhupada say that the first birth that everyone has taken is Brahma? But now we're not Brahma. So that's sobering. So anyway, this is some interesting points here. Any discussion on these verses?
Hare Krishna, Dravida Prabhu.
Haribol.
I have a question on the first verse we read in the purport.
The first verse?
Mm-hmm.
What number was that?
14.
Yes.
And the Prabhupada talks about the different yoga systems, jnana, karma, and
jnana,
hatha.
karma, hatha
Says
means
that-
ashtanga.
Yeah, pure bhakti yoga, without any mixture of this three, jnana, karma, hatha, as when a devotee desires nothing but Krishna. And there is no mixture of this other yogas.
Yeah.
But so the understanding is that a pure devotee who performs bhakti yoga, he never has any type of karma yoga going on. Because then I was thinking like, oh, maybe like the devotee, sometimes he has to engage in other type of activities where he has to perform karma yoga.
Well, you see, karma yoga in its strict form means that you're performing your activity, but you're not holding on to the fruits. You're giving it to a good cause, maybe like that. Nishkama karma yoga, that's the idea, without any material desire. But of course, that's kind of integrated into Krishna consciousness in one sense. You perform your activities, you may be working, even a job, and you give as much as possible to Krishna. When you're working the job, the fruit of this is going to go to Krishna. So it's part of, but karma yoga itself can exist without that, with the idea that, I don't want to do any fruitive activity because that'll bring me back, So I'll just give the fruits to a good cause or to whatever, Durga temple, But you're not really in the mood of bhakti. So karma yoga can be an important element, and just like jnana yoga. Well, are we doing jnana yoga now? We're studying, knowledge here. We're trying to increase our knowledge of Krishna, but that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of what we're doing is that we'll become better servants of Krishna, and ultimately that'll take us back to Godhead. You see, so that's the idea, is that these elements, or dhyana yoga, like that was in the 6th chapter. Prabhupada calls it hatha. Hatha is really a part of it, but that's a bona fide form of yoga. And in Satya Yuga, everyone was meditating, all the time. But in this age, it's not practical. It's not. It's very, very rare that someone can really succeed in going back to God by dhyana yoga, just meditating on Krishna. If you really want to meditate on Krishna, come down and come to the temple. There's Krishna right there. So it's, but the elements are there. Just like focusing the mind on Krishna, hearing the holy name. That's an element of dhyan. That's like dhyan. So we have that, but not in the formal way that Krishna describes in the 6th chapter. That's the idea. All right, so we have a little time for a poem or two. Were either of you here on Sunday night for Radhashtami? We had Radhashtami last Sunday? Radha's appearance day? No? Okay, but you know about Radhashtami, right? No, not so much? Okay. Okay, no, I'm talking to her. Anyway, so I did the poem last night, so I can do another poem tonight. This is a poem that I composed. It talks about the fall and redemption of the soul. Okay, many of you have heard this once. Maybe Dhanabari, you probably heard it too. Where Krishna lives, felicity abounds. With pure simplicity and loving sensibility, all serve him with humility. But when a living entity rejects his true identity and out of sheer stupidity surrenders to cupidity, he loses all sagacity and with it all capacity to understand reality or curb his sensuality. Abandoning humility, he touts his own ability, forgetting his fragility and fortune's volatility. Immersed in asininity for what seems an infinity of lives devoid of piety, he suffers in anxiety till contact with God's devotee, perhaps of utmost brevity, awakens his affinity for words of the divinity. Perceiving the futility of all his imbecility, the soul regains his sanity and casts away his vanity. Endowed with new humility, he serves with all ability and growing spontaneity his guru and the deity. Regaining his identity, the wayward living entity returns to the fraternity of Krishna for eternity. So that's our path. All of us are somewhere on that path going up. All right, one more. Short one. Okay. Okay, this is a meditation on Govardhan Puja. This is Govardhan. This is the home of Giri Govardhan, the lifter of Govardhan Hill, New Govardhan. When Krishna stopped King Indra's sacrifice, that monarch of the heavens threw a fit. Those cowards took that foolish boy's advice. Such insolence I never shall permit. So Indra sent the clouds of devastation to pour down catastrophic hail and rain with lightning, winds and thunder without cessation. The cowards called to Krishna in their pain to show its coward friends his boundless love and crush King Indra's pride for his own good. Sri Krishna lifted Govardhan above and saved his friends while neath the hill they stood. Lord Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you for your attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We'll now have RT in about 5 minutes.